Not what we can see, but rather what we know about artifacts. The hidden histories they disclose to us is what matters most. Prepare yourself as we explore the terrifying tales of 15 eerie artifacts recovered from the ocean floor of the worst maritime disaster in history, the RMS Titanic. These antiques have the power to chill you to the bone and make you second-guess taking that dream cruise. Come along as we dissect one of history's greatest tragedies, piece by piece. But before revealing these 15 discoveries, please hit the subscribe button for more informative videos. Number 15. Did you know that during the horrific sinking of the Titanic, a unique set of keys may have saved countless lives? These keys may have been used to extract lifeboat lighting from a compartment below deck, and they belong to a brave crewman named Samuel Hemming. These lanterns provide vital illumination to those attempting to escape the sinking ship. Hemming embarked on a perilous journey in order to retrieve these vital supplies. Though the interior of the Titanic was dangerous, Hemming bravely navigated dangerous obstacles and made his escape with the lifeboat lamps. He would guide those who remained safe. Hemming carried these 3 keys for the rest of his life as a memento of the bravery and quick thinking that had allowed him to escape the sinking ship. As the keys were passed down through the centuries, their significance remained, with each new owner being drawn to their inspiring story of bravery and determination. Eventually, they were acquired by a private collector, which served to further preserve their historical value. More relics from the tragic Titanic narrative were discovered and acquired by enthusiasts and collectors. A remarkable $100,000 was raised in 2016 through an auction of a Titanic locker key. These relics serve as a reminder that beneath the terrible tale of the Titanic is a deep personal connection, and serve as tangible allusions to the stories we have been told throughout our lives. The severity of the catastrophe is uncomfortably close to home with the auctioning of these artifacts, be it the locker key that formerly guarded personal items or the keys that unlock the door to salvation. These artifacts serve as a link between the horrific realities that real people suffered and the fiction we have seen on screen. Number 14. Violin. If you saw the renowned James Cameron picture, you will recall the band playing heroically as the ship plummeted into the icy depths. But did you know that this was a true moment? The violin that played the tune was found among the relics retrieved from the sinking vessel, and the story was based on an actual incident. To allay the passengers' fears, an 8-piece band was hired as the Titanic crashed into the iceberg. They brought some order to the chaos by daringly performing music as lifeboats were loaded. According to eyewitnesses, the musicians gave a performance right up until they passed away, proving their unwavering dedication. Regretfully, not one of them made it out of the debacle. The band's leader, Wallace Hartley, was one of the deceased. Only a few days after the ship sank, his body was found from the icy waters, and his violin case was still attached to his back. It was decided to be preserved as a poignant memento by one of the rescuers. Wallace Hartley's remains were interred in England surrounded by tens of thousands of mourners. When the violin case was discovered years later, Wallace Hartley was shown to be the owner. Since they weren't part of the ship's crew, the band members had the right to defend themselves. Instead, they chose to spend their last moments providing consolation. As the ship fell into the depths of darkness, the condemned passengers played the poignant song "Nearer, My God, to Thee." After Wallace Hartley's violin was given back to his ex-fiancée Maria, a British collector bought it for an astounding £1.7 million. It remains among the most valuable Titanic relics to be auctioned off. Maria can never fully understand what she is feeling after learning of her beloved's sacrifice. Number 13. Huge piece of the hull. A massive section of the Titanic's hull attracted global attention and left an enduring impression on those who were fortunate enough to witness her beauty. Known as the Big Piece, this 15-ton, 13 by 30-foot treasure was the most important item ever found from the tragic ship. The story of the large piece started in 1994 when it was found submerged in the ocean. Years passed before the recovery operation could be attempted, and a valiant attempt in 1996 was disastrously interrupted when a wire supporting the massive block broke. Nevertheless, hope persisted, and the composition was eventually found in 1998. This incredible section of the hull that was found on the starboard side of the ship attests to the Titanic's disastrous run-in with the harsh forces of nature. I was amazed and in awe of the glass fragments that remained trapped in time within its portholes. Tourists are left in disbelief as they stand next to the massive chunk, which is like standing next to the Titanic. The emotional impact of history and the magnitude of the tragedy often overwhelms those who have had the privilege of seeing this amazing item up close. Tears flow freely. Other people say that touching the big relic gave them a tingling sensation. Their blood seems to have saturated the spirit of the Titanic, creating an unbreakable bridge between the past and present. When the large piece is seen, the Titanic goes beyond myth to become a true story. Visitors to the show are clearly impacted by it as they sit in observation rooms, enthralled with its presence. The large fragment serves as a time doorway, giving us a glimpse into the soul of the ship and a greater understanding of the magnitude of what happened that fateful night. Number 12. Bowler's Hat. Among the several personal belongings that divers have recovered from the wreckage of the Titanic is a bowler hat. Surrounded by the ship's wreckage on the ocean floor, this hat was discovered in 1993 and has amazingly kept up well over time. Its state shows how well made the materials were and offers insight into the style of the time. Even though the identity of the hat's owner is still a mystery, the item's significance must be considered. During that time, bowlers were a popular choice for headwear and were worn by males as a symbol of style and sophistication. Since there were hundreds of men on board the Titanic, we are curious as to who the previous owner of this particular hat was. The owner of the bowler hat is no longer in sight, a symbol of the many lives lost that awful night. Every object found among the wreckage serves as a tangible connection to the passengers aboard the terrible ship. The hat symbolizes their shared sorrow and the experiences that were cruelly cut short. The journey of the hat from its fashionable beginnings to its ultimate resting place at the bottom of the ocean inspires us to reflect on the lives lived and the hopes dashed by the Titanic disaster. This small object serves as a platform for introspection. The hat might not identify its owner, but even so, its very existence stands as a testament to the many stories and shared experiences that occurred that terrible night. It acts as a reminder that the item's true worth lies not in the wearer, but rather in the history of the event and how it affected society at large. Number 11. Sheet music. The band sheet music for the Titanic has been discovered from the depths of the North Atlantic. Two musical compositions, one from approximately 1910 and the other from the Broadway version of Madame Cherie, called "Put Your Arms Around Me, Honey," were found among the wreckage on Mobile Bay. These musical relics offer a glimpse into the repertoire played that pivotal night. Beyond its significance as a historical artifact, the sheet music lets us visualize the songs that once filled the air and draws us closer to the atmosphere aboard the great ship. The band's gifted musicians performed with unwavering passion as chaos exploded all around them. Their music kept the facade of normalcy intact while providing solace in the midst of the impending catastrophe. Among the people connected to these musical treasures is Howard Irwin, who planned to go with his partner aboard the Titanic for the last leg of their global tour. Irwin, on the other hand, never boarded the ship and most likely fell victim to a theft shortly before it set sail. Henry Sudbury Jr., his traveling companion, tragically lost his life in the accident, but the music he carried survived. The sad personal tales associated with the history of the Titanic are brought to light by the discovery of these musical artifacts. It evokes both wonder and melancholy, which adds to the story's depth and complexity. The tragedy's scope grows more overwhelming and real as we discover more details about the journey. The descriptions of the surroundings and the live music performed on board paint a realistic image of life on board the Titanic prior to the disaster. The sense of loss and sadness grows as we reflect on the lives that were irreversibly changed and the hopes that were shattered in those icy waters. Undoubtedly, the significance of the Titanic's journey becomes more apparent with each new piece of information that is discovered. Number 10. Love letters. In addition to being one of the most well-known tragedies in history, the Titanic is renowned for its timeless love story, which has been captured in the hearts of millions of people through the iconic movie. Even though the legendary figure Jack may not exist, real love did develop on the ship among its magnificence. This story of love is revealed from the depths of time via the unearthing of an emotional love letter that arouses emotions that are timeless. A remarkable artifact that was found among the antiques excavated more than 70 years after the disaster was a love letter written by Richard Geddes, a cabin attendant on the Titanic. Richard's intense love for his wife was beautifully encapsulated in the letter, which was written on the ship's official stationery and placed inside its actual Starline envelope. The love letter contained confidential information that was only known to Titanic passengers. Richard not only expressed his love, but also related a near miss that occurred on April 10, just a few days prior to the tragic run-in with the iceberg. The opulent liner just escaped complete catastrophe after coming dangerously close to disaster. Strong propulsion from the Titanic's propellers had torn the iron liner's cables, putting both ships in immediate danger of colliding. Disaster was only averted by Captain Smith's prompt decision to deploy a tugboat to tow the Titanic away. The majority of the passengers, who viewed this near miss as a concerning portent, agreed with Richard's message. The incident was a foreboding reminder of the delicate balance between fate and life that characterized the ship's atmosphere. Richard's love letter was found, providing a unique and intimate glimpse into the lives of those connected to the grandeur of the Titanic. It shows that love can persevere in the face of impending calamity. Richard's original stationery and envelope have preserved his observations as authentic, ageless artifacts. Number 9. White gloves. One of the most remarkable and unique Titanic artifacts ever discovered is a pair of white cotton gloves. Underwater, fabric rarely holds up extremely well, which makes these gloves even more amazing. The gloves retain traces of their former elegance despite their age and the harsh conditions they endured. Their intricate craftsmanship and thin fit provide a glimpse into the tastes and fashion of the early 20th century. The gloves' remarkable degree of preservation adds to their allure. These magnificent artifacts were featured for years as an essential part of multiple Titanic exhibitions, captivating audiences with their historical significance even if the original owner is still unknown. But because of their delicate condition, the gloves were taken out of the public eye and put in a conservation facility in 2016. It was determined to remove them from the exhibition circuit in order to safeguard their long-term preservation. Because the gloves were fragile and prone to further damage, they required extra care. By putting them in a conservation center, where they could be kept in an environment conducive of their fragile health, experts could protect them from further harm. The gloves' removal from view does not make them any less significant. On the contrary, it highlights how important it is to keep and preserve such rare relics for future generations. As a tangible link to the Titanic's past, the gloves stand for the stories and people that will always be connected to the sad ship. Number 8. Vials of perfume. Unexpected discovery emerged from the depths during a daring rescue attempt in 2000. Expert in salvage Dick Barton recalls the event, noting that until the object pierced the surface, its precise nature was unknown. But when the bag was opened, something amazing happened. The lab filled with the delicate scent of Edwardian perfume. The leather wallet proved to be a veritable gold mine of fragrant discoveries, including 62 miniature vials filled with samples of perfumes. These beautiful scents belonged to Adolph Saffield, a 47-year-old Manchester perfume producer and first-class traveler. Saffield had escaped the collapsing ship, but his precious leather bag remained behind, waiting for its happy ending. To the surprise of salvagers, 3 other pouches bearing Saffield's name were also found among the Titanic debris years later. Samples of several scents were included in each packet, like tempting artifacts from bygone eras. After the ship's damages were fixed, Saffield's scents were given another opportunity. The painstaking process of breaking down each perfume into its constituent chemicals started in an attempt to recreate Saffield's fragrances. Replicating the long-lost scents required this laborious teardown. The aromatic residues led to the creation of a perfume known as Legacy 1912. It evokes memories of a bygone era and embodies the essence of an era. What scent does it have then? Imagine faint hints of neroli and lemon blended with a soft rose blush. The combination of warm sheer amber and the other ingredients creates a sensual and deep aroma that is incredibly alluring. We may completely lose ourselves in the grace and sophistication of the Edwardian era thanks to this fragrance, which evokes the mood of the time. Beyond just the aroma, This invention's packaging was designed with a somber relic found in the debris in mind, a door that was brought to the surface as a tribute to the terrible fate that befell the Titanic. Number 7. Pocket Watch. Recovered from the lifeless body of Russian Jewish immigrant Sanai Cantor, this corroded ancient pocket watch told a story that equaled the grandiose tale of Jack and Rose. Sanai Cantor and his devoted wife Miriam boarded the Titanic. As second-class travelers, they set off with the hope of starting over in America. Their objectives were simple but significant. They wanted to study dentistry and medicine in the vibrant city of New York. Furrier by profession, Sanai brought trunks full of furs with the intention of selling them to fund their journey to the American dream. But destiny had other ideas for them. When the Titanic gave way to the ruthless sea on that fateful night of April 15, the couple's hopes were crushed. Sanai valiantly refused to leave the ship, even while Miriam followed the custom of women and children first and sought safety in a lifeboat. Like thousands of others, he was cast into the icy waters and left forever apart from his beloved Miriam. The pocket watch trembled in the sea's grip as days went by. The dial had turned discolored, the hands had faded, and the movement had rusted, all of which were signs of its watery demise. The shiny silver finish had almost completely faded off. This Swiss-made watch has an intriguing force that makes up for its flaws: the ability to immortalize the lives of those connected to the Titanic disaster. The watch, broken and shattered, finds itself back in the spotlight in an incredible turn of events. At auction, it brought in an incredible $57,500, proving that it has the power to perpetuate the Titanic myth for nearly a century. Through the watch's crumbling facade, Cantor and many others are revealed, reminding us of the victims who were lost forever on that terrible journey. Number 6. Menu of the ship's last meal. Have you ever pondered what the world's most lavish and luxurious ship's menu might have looked like? Prepare to be enthralled as we investigate the tantalizing cuisine on the Titanic. Not only does the tragedy of the Titanic still capture our attention 104 years after it sank, but it also harks back to a time when bravery and class differences were commonplace. Let's take a closer look at the dining experiences that the different passenger classes on the ship enjoyed. The menus, brimming with delectable options, provide a glimpse into the luxury and gastronomic decadence that defined the Titanic's journey. To wealthy first-class passengers, the lunch was a grand occasion. A feast for the senses, the lunches featured an excellent assortment of cuisine, such as succulent roasted turkey with cranberry sauce and exquisite spring lamb served with mint sauce. The culinary show was rounded out with roasted haddock in a robust sauce and traditional plum pudding. Wine jelly and other delectable delights tempted the well-respected guests' palates in a similar manner. The ship's commitment to serving the greatest food at sea was demonstrated by the first-class menu. Even though the second-class meals were a little less opulent, they were still quite delicious. Passengers could enjoy hearty dishes including baked haddock, roasted chicken, grilled mutton chops, and butter sauce. These culinary alternatives ensured a tasty and pleasurable supper for the second-class passengers. Conversely, the third-class cuisine, while not as broad, nonetheless reflected the limitations that budget-conscious travelers had to contend with. For the third-class passengers, breakfast, lunch, and dinner were simple affairs with fare like boiled potatoes and rice soup. The emphasis was on nourishment rather than luxury. It's important to keep in mind that the Titanic was well known for its first-rate onboard dining establishment. As evidence of the ship's commitment to good dining, during one lunch service alone, over 40 different meal options were provided. Number 5. Titanic Deck Bell. Ignorant to the impending calamity, the magnificent Titanic sailed over the shadowy seas. The ship's lookout observed a terrifying fleet of icebergs in the distance, which caught his attention as a dazzling hazard. He hastily rang the alarm bell 3 times, signaling to the passengers and crew that calamity was imminent, and this caused panic to break out. Many years later, in 1987, the famous bell that resounded throughout the Titanic was found submerged in the ocean, making it a unique item. This bell serves as a tangible remembrance of that awful night and is currently kept in the Titanic Museum. It is evidence of the courage and quick thinking of Frederick Fleet, the watchman, and Reginald Lee, his friend, who miraculously survived the accident. Fleet's horrific stories were made public after the accident, providing insight into what happened that evening. Remarkably, they said that they could have found the iceberg sooner if they had been provided with binoculars, a piece of equipment that would have greatly benefited them in their work. Frederick Fleet was questioned how much earlier they could have seen the iceberg, and his sobering response was, "Enough to get out of the way." The revelation emphasizes the disastrous consequences of a single omission. The Titanic disaster, which claimed an unbelievable number of lives for everyone on board, left a lasting impact on those who saw it firsthand. Every alarm bell rang out over the ship, inciting a mix of fear, doubt, and disbelief. Their lives were forever changed by the catastrophe, which weighed heavily on their hearts and minds. Frederick Fleet's anguish was too much for him to bear. He tragically took his own life in 1965 following the death of his wife, a stark reminder of the emotional wounds left by the Titanic's destruction that would never heal. Number 4. Harold's Whistle. A special thing from the sad Titanic disaster is a whistle that used to belong to a hero named 5th Officer Harold Lowe. He led the 14th lifeboat to save people from the cold waters. He also blew the whistle to warn about the danger during the disaster. After saving passengers in his lifeboat, Lowe was really brave. He went back to help others in the ocean. In a movie, he's shown saving Rose, played by Kate Winslet, and that made his brave actions famous. Harold Lowe was from North Wales and was 29 when he did brave things in the Atlantic. After that, he kept working as a sailor. Sadly, he died in 1994 at 61. People still respect him for being brave during the Titanic disaster. It's said he talked to J. Bruce Ismay, the boss of White Star Line, asking him to step back and saying he'd let everyone die if he didn't. He put women and kids in lifeboats when other officers were scared to look back at the disaster, worried the lifeboats were already full. Harold Lowe's courage makes his whistle really important. Now the whistle is going up for sale at Henry Aldridge and Son Auction House in the UK. It has Lieutenant H.G. Lowe Royal Naval Reserve written on it. It's expected to sell for £3,788, showing how important it is in history and remembering Harold Lowe. Number 3. Alligator Purse. A special item on the Grand Titanic was a beautiful alligator handbag that belonged to Marion Meanwell, a British hat maker dreaming of starting a new life in America. Marion didn't plan to go on the Titanic, but things changed when the ship she wanted to take was not available. She had to buy a third-class ticket for the journey, which tragically turned out to be ill-fated. Marion got her things ready for the trip without knowing that her alligator purse would end up holding important papers. Inside, there was a marriage certificate, a canary voucher confirming a delivery to a retired relative, and a sweet note from a previous landlord praising her for paying rent on time. The sturdy alligator leather shielded these priceless papers from the water, letting them survive the ship's tragic sinking. Experts are amazed at how well the alligator skin in Marion's purse has held up. Its thickness and durability are unmatched, showing the excellent craftsmanship of that time. This highlights how things were made to last with careful attention to detail and top-notch materials. Marion's alligator purse reminds us of a time when quality mattered and items were built to endure. Sadly, due to the Titanic disaster, Marion, like many others, lost her life too soon. It makes us wonder about the life she could have had if she had boarded her original ship and safely reached America. Her dreams sank with the Titanic. Yet her alligator handbag remains a tangible connection between Marion's story and the unknown experiences of others on that tragic ship. It's a poignant reminder of how our hopes are fragile and life is fleeting. Number 2. Bronze Cherub. A bronze cherub, once a decorative piece on the grand staircase of the unfortunate Titanic, is a captivating addition to the Titanic artifact display. This specific cherub is currently exhibited at the Luxor Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, originally placed near the stairway connecting the sea deck to the promenade deck. Cherub figurines were spread throughout the Titanic, but their importance was most notable near the grand staircase, a majestic 5-level structure. The exact origin of this cherub is uncertain, being smaller than the cherubs found on the landings of the main staircase. Some experts believe it might have come from the upper level of the first-class grand staircase. Interestingly, the statue is missing its torch and left foot. likely lost during its removal from the original location. This cherub gained more attention when it appeared in James Cameron's blockbuster movie Titanic, setting the scene for Jack and Rose's passionate moments on the grand staircase. It's important to distinguish this cherub from a smaller one discovered on the ocean floor. The artifact's religious symbolism adds a mysterious and eerie allure. Cherubs, often seen as God's assistants or throne bearers, introduce a thought-provoking and unsettling aspect when considered in the context of such a significant catastrophe. Rumors circulated, suggesting that even God couldn't sink the Titanic before its voyage, while others considered such statements blasphemous, anticipating divine punishment. The survival and recovery of the cherub held religious importance for some, prompting contemplation on the profound depths of religion and the broader mysteries of existence. Number 1. Amy's Bracelet. Amy's bracelet unfolds as a touching relic from the heartbreaking sinking of the Titanic, unveiling not just the wealth and dreams of its passengers, but also the concealed treasures carried by the supposedly unsinkable ship. Laden with an astonishing amount of diamonds and priceless gemstones, estimated to be valued over $200 million, the Titanic's cargo displayed the richness and grace of its time. Amy's bracelet stands out as a perfect example of the magnificent jewelry worn by the passengers. This carefully crafted artifact showcases the imaginative and technical skill of the craftsmen from that era. The bracelet, made from 15-karat gold with a silver overlay, enchants with its intricate design. The contrast between the gold and silver highlights the bracelet's charm, underlining the skill and artistry involved in its making. The silver overlay adds a touch of delicacy and detailed patterns to the overall design, enhancing its beauty. With its owner's name engraved, Amy's bracelet becomes a symbol representing the connections and personal stories of those who set sail on the ill-fated Titanic. Sadly, Amy's identity remains a mystery, adding an element of intrigue to this cherished item. Beyond being just a piece of jewelry, Amy's bracelet transforms into an invaluable treasure embodying love, dedication, and dreams of a joyful future. Its discovery and preservation serve as a poignant reminder of the individual stories and lasting legacies tied to the Titanic. By exploring these artifacts, we delve into the depths of history, contemplating the lives lost and the intricate tales woven into the tragic narrative of the Titanic. We hope you enjoyed this video and eagerly anticipate seeing you in the next one.